It is well documented. If a person that goes to prison gets a chance to get their GED or whatnot, because, I mean, there are some people that go to prison for some weird stuff. We have laws that get people put in prison. I mean, I just did a video about a dude that owned a mechanic shop. He was a diesel mechanic and got arrested because of the Clean Air Act. Things like that get you put in prison. So I've got a problem with those kinds of laws. But if somebody didn't get their high school education, it's very difficult for them to get a chance to get a job. Their jobs chances are dropped drastically. Also, some people end up in situations where, you know, any kind of reasons got them into it. But if they're given a chance to learn some job skills, hey, it helps them consider not going back into a life of crime. Education, which I am a big proponent of, helps a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I think that even our prisoners need to be educated. If our school systems were better, then hey, we might actually have a few less people that are thinking committing crime is a good thing. But then again, though, the schools are filled with Democrats or people that support Democrat initiatives, and well, we all know where the regressive movement leads you to. But going into that, I found an article recently. It's a really recent article talking about how inmates are not being able to get like their GEDs and stuff like that could help them not go back into a life of crime. I'm like I said, I'm all for education. People need to have these things such as GED to be able to help them get a job easier. So we're going to cover this article. Before I do that, hit like and subscribe if you want to know what's going on in your government on a federal, state, or local level. I cover all these topics. Also, if you want to help me out even more, now don't get me wrong, hitting like and subscribe and commenting and all that, that really helps. I have memberships if you're listening to me on YouTube. If you're listening to me on other sites, Rumble, Facebook, uh, I've got a link tree down below. You can go to my Patreon. You can help me out because you can also get a first chance to go, hey, here's something that we could use your help with on a local issue. I'm willing to cover those. I want to hear from people, and hey, this will help me get other opportunities that I've got coming up that or help me get those done faster. So, but like I said, hitting like and subscribe, commenting, that'll help me out very much. So, here we go.
Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate.
That's right.
I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
Roughly 1 in 4 inmates in Virginia are waiting to enroll in prison education programs, a backlog that state officials say could hinder rehabilitation and reduce chances of success after release. Lawmakers this week heard a range of possible fixes aimed at expanding access and lowering recidivism rates. Inmates housed at facilities operated by the Virginia Department of Corrections are permitted by state law to participate in educational and vocational programs, including a functional literacy program for inmates testing below 12th grade level, adult basic education, career and technical education, and post secondary education. However, not all prisons are required to offer inmate education. As of February 5th, 671 inmates are on a waiting list for educational programs, highlighting the demand that far surpasses the DOC's capacity, according to the report presented by Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission at the direction of state lawmakers. About 40% of inmates require education to successfully reintegrate into society. We take this very seriously at the Department of Corrections, said Chadwick Dotson, the agency's director. And again, the reason we do this is because every recidivism point we can drop, that's one fewer victim, that's one more mother raising their child. So it's a win win for everyone. Researchers found that inmates who participate in educational programs had better employment outcomes and quality of life after release than those who did not, but the demand continues to exceed the department's capacity. In addition to limited capacity, challenges include security staffing shortages, with vacancy rates over 20% at 16 of the 37 facilities. Hey, folks, if you know somebody needing a job, wanting a job, whatever, here's a job, here's some jobs that you could go into. Technology and infrastructure, and the inconsistent programming when inmates transfer between facilities. Recommendations include better management of waitlist, improvements to GED testing processes, which dropped by 35% between 2022 and 2025, and stronger links between CTE programs and job opportunities. The discussion also emphasized the need for more funding and infrastructure upgrades to support education in prisons and jails. All of which will probably bring jobs that people can apply for. Virginia allocates $36.8 million in adult basic education, CTE, and post secondary education programs, which make up 2% of the DOC's $1.56 billion total budget. Dotson told lawmakers that the agency is working to balance GED testing frequency, develop stronger employment connections, and improve technology and inmate transfers. He said the DOC is introducing new tablets to enable distance learning, expand broadband access in facilities, and exploring an offender management system used in other states to better track and minimize disruptive transfers during coursework. Terry Irwin, director of the Virginia Consensus for Higher Education in Prison, an initiative of the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, said one priority is expanding access to higher education for inmates following recent changes in Pell Grant eligibility. She said about 60% of people incarcerated in Virginia are academically eligible for college. We'd like to see a return of college programs to the prisons because they have such a dramatically beneficial effect on reducing recidivism, but also increasing employability and wages and benefits for folks who ultimately turn back to society. Irwin said lawmakers could introduce related legislation when they return to Richmond on January 14th for the start of the General Assembly session. Study did not include juvenile detention centers. Meanwhile, several agencies are developing a strategic plan to expand educational opportunities for incarcerated individuals. The effort stemmed from House Bill 2158, carried by Delegate Betsy Carr, Richmond, which aimed to strengthen carceral education from basic literacy through post-secondary programs, but was vetoed by Governor Glenn Youngkin. We're really excited. Okay, so I'll leave a link in the description. Look, am I wanting to fund all of the college dreams? No. What I do think, considering the failures of the education system across this country, that yes, we need to get these folks to have their GED since they can't get their high school diploma. I do think that they should be able to functionally read. It, schools have failed in so many different ways, and this just shows more of it. And also, some folks have society pushing them away from education. I've heard quite a few folks that go, well, I didn't have to learn all that. Yes. And then this happens where people end up in jail and prison because they commit crimes because they thought this was a path, and yeah, you get that idea. But here's also another thing is you listen through all that. Hey, there is a need for people to have employment. You can be one of those that quits being part of the 42 million that are on food stamps and go get a job. Wow. Novel idea. Earn your own money. Don't be relying on the government to feed you when you can go get a job. We're not if you do a good enough job, they ain't going to get rid of you at a Department of Corrections job because, well, guess what? We need correctional officers. So, hey, Go do that. It'll help you. See, here's the thing that continues to confuse me. It is well known that the less educated you are, the more likely you are to commit crimes. Now, mind you, at the same time, they also keep making new laws that make absolutely no sense just so that they can lock people up in prison. If we can get these people educated and they don't go back to a state prison, we're not even going to talk about the private prison, they keep you in prison longer so they make more money scam. But when we're talking about prisons that are part of a state or federal Department of Corrections that are not part of the private prison, they're not wanting to keep you there. But at the same time, a lot of those folks actually do want you to get to the point that you don't come back. That would be a good thing. So, this is something to think about. It cuts away crime, it really does. I've seen the numbers and I believe the numbers. I really do. But at the same time, this is also another one of those things of showing that there are folks that can get jobs if they don't want to be reliant on stealing tax dollars that they lose their benefits because the government shuts down. You can go get a job. There are jobs waiting for you. But that's just another bit of this. So, this has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now.